I was never a hardcore Pokemon gamer, and I never realized the oddity of certain events in my games until long after they had happened. Just hours prior to writing this, I realized they were all connected, or seemed to be. To be honest, I don't know what to make of this. I haven't told anyone or sought help, but I've decided to share my story to the world in hopes that someone can help me. Here are the most important occurrences. When I was 10, my first Pokemon game I played was Sapphire, and I had played that game extensively when it came out. I loved playing with my Mudkip, Nema, and my routes, Afte. I beat the gym leaders rather easily. I evolved both to their maximum in a very short time and was quite overpowered at nearly every point in the game. I made my way to the Victory Road. The trainers were easily defeated. At the end of Victory Road, I fought Wally, and I wiped the floor with him before he could feint either Nema or Afte. Defeated, I expected him to come out and finish with some dialogue. His sprite didn't show up, but instead, his Gardevoir. Its cry was heavily distorted and lasted for several seconds. The tune for winning never played. Its fin and eyes were black, and the game gained a blue hue. Without pressing any buttons, my character sent out Afte, my own Gardevoir. The opponent used Destiny Bond, which I found odd because Wally never used the move in the battle. The text afterwards was as expected for the move. It was never given any options afterwards, though, and it said, Afte used Predict. No animation showed. The dialogue after that said, Afte predicted its fate. That was especially odd. I never taught Afte Predict, and I knew that the dialogue was different. I was getting chills from it, but I continued anyways. Gardevoir used Predict. Even more eerie, the animation was absent this time, too. He never used Predict in the battle either. The text afterwards said, Gardevoir predicted Exclaimer's fate. I was genuinely scared at this moment, but I assumed that this was part of the normal game, even though I was 10 at the time. I knew it was odd for a Pokemon game to be so eerie. During all of this, I never pressed a button. Now, though, I was mashing buttons to see if any of them gave me an option. None did. I considered switching my Game Boy off, but I decided not to. Afte didn't use a move at this time. Instead, my character appeared to be alongside Afte, as if in a team battle. Gardevoir used Guillotine. The normal animation was replaced with one of an actual guillotine descending upon me and my Pokemon. The screen, when the blade appeared to have cut through the two sprites, cut to black, froze, and showed nothing else. Restarting my game, it went to the menu. My save file was there, but with no badges, no time elapsed. Did I just lose all of my progress? I thought, and in frustration, I turned off the game, put it away, and went off to do something else. The next day, I noticed I had a really bad cramp in my neck. A few years ago, my interest in Pokemon flared up again, having packed up my Game Boy a few months prior, before moving to where I now live. I only had my computer immediately available for me to use. I downloaded the Game Boy emulator along with Pokemon Emerald ROM. Fun was had, memories were acquired, and my old team was back. Nema and Afte were as overpowered as usual, except I had much more ease with my heightened sense of strategy. I played for many hours, catching many Pokemon, battling many trainers, as was expected. I also witnessed a few events that I had never seen, one being a swarm of skitties on Route 116, one of which I caught, leveled, and used in cuteness contests. Another event I saw was the Mirage Tower, which I thought was interesting as an alternative to the fossils in the Ruby and Sapphire games. I had made my way to Victory Road, having temporarily forgotten my past experience. I rushed in, fought a few trainers, and crossed the first bridge into the next room. Wally appeared and challenged me as usual. The battle was normal until he sent out his Gardevoir. Its fin and eyes were black, and the rest of it was blue. Even more so than it was the last time. Almost completely overriding the screen, the green color it usually has. I remembered my last encounter with Wally now. that fear that struck me last time returned. When Wally sent out his guard of wire, I had my Swampert out and ready to attack. Without any options, I was forced to send out Afte. I haven't used him in this battle yet. Afte's sprite appeared, cut in half. The inside of the sprite was oozing a fog and had red specks along the outline of the body. It had 3 out of 7,997 health. Note that July 9th, 1997 was when my brother was born. I was given my 4 options: fight, Pokemon bag, and fate. I chose fight, and Afte automatically used Destiny Bond. Yet again, a move I had never taught it. Afte and Guard of Wire shared the same fate. Afte used Guillotine. The same blade animation appeared, and the screen cut to black. I heard Guard of Wire's cry, but it was distorted, stretched, and looped. It did this for about 10 minutes. I took a sip of my tea that I had on my desk, but it was extremely bitter, scalding, and in pain. I threw the mug across the room, shattered it silently. The tea was pitch black, with no luster. I precisely remember putting a lot of milk and sugar into it. The battle screen returned, but the cry continued. The opponent's sprite was also cut in half, bleeding and oozing a fog. Wally brought his Gardevoir back into its Pokeball, and his sprite showed up, but he was crying. The dialogue was, "Why did you have to bring her down with you? Why can't you just accept your fate?" It gave me 2 options, yes or no. I chose no. "I have something to tell you, Tyler." My brother's name. It gave me the options of fight, Pokemon, bag, and fate. I chose fight, but the sound played and nothing happened. I chose bag, it showed up, but the only thing in it were several hundred stacks of Master Balls. Attempting to use them did nothing. I chose Pokemon. I had a split-in-half Afte and 4 Skitties. The names were "We Predict Your Fate." All were level 100 with 3 out of 7,997 health. Attempting to switch them into battle did nothing, and their summaries were completely blank. Their stats were 7,997 each, and each had the moves Guillotine, Destiny Bond, Destiny Bond, Destiny Bond, Destiny Bond, Destiny Bond, Destiny Bond. For some reason, each of the Skitties had 3 pages of moves. 1 Guillotine, and 11 Destiny Bonds. All were labeled as cute moves in the contest pages, and each gave maximum appeal and jam ratings. The description for each was, "Predicts Tyler's fate." I exited the menu very hesitantly, and I used the last option, fate. Dialogue appeared. "I'm glad you accepted your fate." Gardevoir used predict. Gardevoir predicted Tyler's fate. Wally predicted Tyler's fate. Afte predicted Tyler's fate. We predicted Tyler's fate. Predict predicted Tyler's fate. Your predicted Tyler's fate. Fate predicted Tyler's fate. The screen cut to black again. Gardevoir's sick, twisted cry was heard again, over and over. Several minutes passed as I sat, sweating, cold, scared for my life and for Tyler's life. 15 minutes passed, but the cries still continued. I got up to clean up the mess from the mug. It was gone. I glanced back to my desk. The mug was there, still filled with tea. It wasn't black anymore, and it had grown cold. I went to the kitchen to pour it out, and when I returned to my room, the screen was gone. Not just black, but the monitor itself had vanished. A few months after this incident, and after a very awkward explanation to my parents as to why the monitor had seemingly vanished, I got a brand new monitor to replace it. The computer had been unused for a very long while, and I was eager to use it again, for every purpose other than to play Pokemon. I plugged it in, booted up the computer, and everything ran as smoothly as expected. I uninstalled everything related to the Emerald game. The emulator was installed and the ROMs and save files were deleted. Nothing out of the ordinary happened, and I was glad that it was back to normal. Next month, during Tyler's birthday, my parents drove him to his friend's house for a party while I visited my friends. He was brutally killed in a car accident not far from the interstate. My parents escaped with only scrapes and bruises. 2 months ago, I got around to unpacking the box that contained my Game Boy. It was on when I found it, the character sprite in the center of the screen on a pure white background. The game cartridge was nowhere to be found. I turned the power off, but nothing happened. Against my better judgment, I looked at the Pokemon that I had in the game. After I was there, cut in half. 4 more skaties were in the party, and their names were, "Your fates are the same." I've never been in a car since.